Let's get started. And our first speaker for the afternoon is Kajsa Balkfors Lind, who works with a circus. And I'll let you tell you more about that. A warm welcome to Kajsa.
Thank you. See.
Well,
So I use this?
Yep.
No. Here. Hi. So I'm Kajsa, and I'm an office acrobat. It's normally my colleagues that are on stage, so this is exciting. But I came from a different background, and I work with Cirkus Cirko. I don't know if it's anyone who's seen a show in the audience. One or some. It's contemporary circus, so it's not your traditional elephant popcorn circus. It's more of a performance circus. But I was around 15 years ago. It was a lot of talk about entrepreneurship, and it was the IT bubble sphere by that time, and it was the same time that Cirkus Cirko was founded. And I was in these meetings, and I was also involved as a consultant and organization consultant. And what I heard a lot was people trying to find out ideas that they could sell to someone who would pay them not to do their idea, which is kind of a non-holistic and not very sustainable view of looking at entrepreneurship. And this kind of energy and view got me thinking that I needed to do something else. And I met these guys who met contemporary circus in Paris in 1995 and thought that this was something that needed to get into Sweden. And they started to dream big, like, we're going to start a school, we're going to make this available to anyone, and we're going to make everyone be able to train circus, we're going to put Sweden on the international map. And there was nothing of contemporary circus in Sweden. There were no market, there were no artists, there were no demand for it, nobody knew about it, no distribution channels, nothing to pick up on. But they thought this was a art form that talked a lot about everything is possible, and they really should get it happen. So they got tired of dreaming and started to do. And they set the vision to change the world through contemporary circus. So is that a risk or an opportunity? This is one of my colleagues, and circus is a lot about risk, but not really, because it's a lot about opportunities. And this is Henrik, but another colleague, one of the first artists that I met. He's a sword swallower, and he also swallows what call those long light balls? Lysrör. Yeah, okay. So he swallows those. And it was nothing I had to plan to learn, but I asked him, so how did you do this? And he explained that if you want to do that, you have to train for 2 hours a day, a year, with a feather in your throat to take away your gag reflex. And that's what you start with. And then you have another half year when you can work with a sword and to learn the technique. And then you add up to the number, and you get what a circus number that you can use. And that kind of devotion, like, I have this idea, I want to swallow swords. I think that can make people think that they can do more than they know. And to break it down and to do everything that's needed to make that happen is very much core of circus. And when I met them in 1999, I think it was 5 people on payroll, and they were in Las Vegas producing a big show there. They were on European tour with another show. They hold open stage on this specific site, so a lot of people can come and see. They started the first education, because there were no artist education, so they started an education which didn't fit into the Swedish system, so it was self-funded and EU-funded. They had circus camps all over Sweden. The first one, it came 40,000 kids during 2 weeks in Stockholm. So apparently more people wanted to do this. And they also started, because they didn't know how to tour, so they toured all over Sweden. And a lot of people wanted to start to train, so they started this network to support others that wanted to learn about circus. And it amazed me how they could do all this. And there were 5 fixed people on payroll. It was around 30 people on freelance basis. They started event company because they would pay the bills for the artists, because art is not a thing that you normally get rich of. And what made them do all this? And they were growing 300% every year for the first 4 years. So I wondered what was most important for them. Was it a business plan? Or was it a strategy? Or was it to calculate on how can we grow? The most important thing was to find out what made us do this and what do we need to know that we share so we can grow bigger without being around the same table all the time. So we need to find our values. And this is what we wrote down: cocky commitment, quality madness, and collective individualism. I think they are good core values for entrepreneurships as well. We heard a lot about looking behind your shoulders and not trust in anyone. But I think if you want to do something that's new, if you want to expand the world, if you want to be able to fly, you need to look at it a little bit different. And cocky commitment, when you build up an entrepreneurial organization, circus is a lot about artistic entrepreneurial view. You need cocky commitment. I need my colleagues to be engaged in what they do and to bring their opinions to the table. But they need both. If they just have opinions, they're not very much used to what we want to do, but they need the commitment to make it happen as well. And you need quality madness. If you want to do something interesting, innovative, something new, you need madness or to think outside the box. But you need to do it quality. You need to deliver quality, otherwise you're not relevant. But if you just do quality, you're pretty boring. And collective individualism is to bring everyone with their differences. Different is good. To take a lot of different people, but they need to be able to collaborate. And sometimes it's easier if you think that, okay, everyone is different, we don't have to argue, and we think the same, and we are all nerds, or we work the same way. But if you want to be able to fly, you need to be different. One needs to have one character, one needs to have another. And you need to take care of your difficulties on the ground, but then you will be able to fly. So those are the core values that we kept working with. And now, which is 16 years later, the core values was my first step to run away with the circus. So I joined and continued to work with them and help them grow. So now it's not them, but it's me as well. I think I should drink some water because the technician said I should. I'm doing good. From dream to reality. The first dream was to live our lives and to live our dream, not just to dream it. And we continue doing that. And by now we played for 1.2 million audience in all over the world. Not Alaska, but we're going next year. We have around 300 people on a payroll. We work with 300 children and youth all over Sweden, also in South America and other countries, but mostly in Sweden now. We have a university education in circus, where you become an artist, which is considered one of the best in the world. We have done plus 20 original productions. In circus, everyone is an original production. You don't have a script. We did Romeo and Juliet, so then we had a script, but you interpret it. So now we do original productions. And we've been to more than 400 schools and learning facilities, bringing new methods and taking over with circus in sports, but also teaching math and different subjects. So our organization has grown, and we have this artistic chamber in our heart. Cirkus Cirko. Cirko is cur and circus, the French for cur. And it's art and it's teaching or learning. And we have those chambers all the time, but also an entrepreneurial way of making it grow, because you need to find ways when there's no system, no subsidized, when there's no traditional venture cap or something that we could work with. So we're a hybrid organization. So we're a non-profit organization who owns a limited company. We're an artistic institution with governmental funding. We're listed as sports and culture. So we don't fit to the system, but if you want to do something new, it's not the system that you need to fit into. You have to make the system work for you. And the inspiration for us was also to do something that makes a difference. And by starting up and by doing what we do, we got new audience to the performing arts. More young people, but also more divided people. Circus is a very cross-boundary art form. So we have the Östermalm pensioners and the people from Alby, Botkyrka, where we resided, and the young people in the same audience looking at the same performing arts and all getting the same kind of energy of everything is possible. We worked as change agents in municipalities. Over 14 municipalities has used circus as a way of changing their culture policy, but also their education system and how they work with their planning and management. And we are now considered one of the most interesting countries when it comes to contemporary performing arts and contemporary circus. So we managed to do a lot of the things that was dreams in the beginning, but we also continue. And we established a new labor market, because nobody knew they could become a contemporary circus artist 15 years ago. And I came from the business side and I came from the entrepreneurial side, but I think I learned the core of entrepreneurial thinking from the circus. And I think entrepreneurial thinking is an inside job. There's a lot of calculation and I'm pointing at my left hemisphere of the brain. There's a lot of thinking that you need to do. But if you have an idea, you need the same kind of devotion that Janne had to making his sword swallowing possible, to make everything that you dream about possible. And somebody had 7 lessons, but I have 7 dimensions that my colleagues work with and that they are expert on. Because as an artist, you train 6 hours a day and you perform for 4 hours a day. So you train every day on your skill and your circus discipline. And by doing that, you also train on these dimensions. So devotion, which is connected to both being a circus director but an artist, is all this work that you need to do. But if you're devoted and you have the devotion inside of you, all the hard work is not that hard, because you would love to do it to make your dream reality. And I'll show you another company which is called Vost, and that are friends of ours. And they only do aerial acrobatics. They invented this tent that you can blow, which is air-filled, and you lie in chairs under when you look at their performance. And in aerial acrobatics, you're a flyer or you're a catcher. And if you're a flyer, what you have to do when you let go of the trapeze is that you have to do nothing but to trust your catcher. Because if something goes wrong, if you try to correct, which your body will scream for you to do, but if you try to correct, you will fall. and it's 13 meters through the ground, so something will happen. So you have to concentrate on that, just trusting your partner, trusting that all the work that you put in to your body will make you be able to do it, but also just trust. Otherwise you will fall. And I think trust is a good thing. It's nothing, in Russia it might be different, I heard it before, but if you're in a partnership in artistic or entrepreneurial venture, if you want to expand the world or bring something new, or if you want to fly, trust is something that you need. You need control to be able to train your skills, but you need to let go, because otherwise it will be only you. And collaboration is another thing that pair acrobatics are very expert on, because they work together every day, and they have to deal with all the difficulties in a collaboration. Usually they're also couples, so they deal with it, trust me. And you need to take all these difficulties, the opinions and the things that you're different with, to leave it on the ground when you're up there. Otherwise it doesn't work. But you also have to deal with all the difficulties. But by being different, this is what you can do. And balance is another dimension, which I think is important in all entrepreneurial ventures. And Molly here, she explained to me, if you're on the wire, there's no state of balance. There's not. You can see me juggle here. That balance is a constant movement in and out of balance. I have to check the time. Okay, so it's a constant movement in and out of balance. If you try to catch it, then you fall. And I think the same thing when you are into an adventure of entrepreneurship. You need to put energy into building a platform, building a structure, but you also need to be in the chaos, in the creative mode. You need to have the moment, a movement ahead, but also in between these, to be able to make the impossible possible. And I think, this is one of the Da Vinci, my version of Da Vinci's image, where he says science and art is two sides of the same coin, and both expand the world. I think entrepreneurial thinking is three sides of the coin that expand the world and can make a difference. And you need both your logical thinking, your artistic thinking, and your discipline and your eagerness to make the impossible possible. And remember that it's also an inside job. Okay, I think I stopped there because the time is over. So thank you, and please come talk to me.
Hey, 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 hey. So, do we have any questions from the audience? Can you give me some light? Maybe I'll see if there's some questions in the audience. We got one there. Yep.
Thanks for a really inspiring talk. It was fantastic to see. Where do you feel the line lies between becoming a performer and really embodying yourself with understanding this this careful balance of interplay and dynamics and really understanding what you do, and then being an entrepreneur and applying that to another field? How far to becoming a circus performer do you need to go before you can still draw it back without running away from the circus?
It's a good question. I think because we have a event business which is 100% commercial, and then you do events, performances on demand, which the artists make money out of, and they maybe not that artistic, but it's a way also to go into more risk ventures where you can explore your artistic view. And I think within circus, it's so cross-boundary. We work with scientists and technicians, and me, I'm not an artist, but it's so much used to joining up with different people. So I do some of the things that an artist wouldn't do, but I get inspired by them in being an entrepreneur. And it's part of, okay, if I want to do my dream, I must love doing all the musts. And then you're not a slave to the bad money. It's just something that you need to do to be able to do your dream. And I think that view is more common in circus, so it helps you. There was some question there? Was it? There.
Yours was a very exuberant speech, and I was just wondering, you mentioned this thing about aesthetic and physical learning system to the Swedish school system, right?
Yeah.
You already introduced it already, right?
Yeah, we worked for 6 years with different schools and developing together with teachers. So we have methods now that we're introducing to the whole country, but we worked in 4 municipalities.
So in a nutshell, what kind of benefits does it bring to the conventional educational system, to the schools and to the children's?
Well, I was brought up in the school where it's please sit down for 9 years and learn old knowledge.
So was I.
Yeah, and you learn to remember old knowledge. You don't learn how to actually develop knowledge in yourself. And we are human beings. We have a body and we understand things creatively. So what you get is you have people that weren't good at math becoming good at math because you use aesthetics and physics and you understand it with more sides of ourselves because we are different as human beings and we learn not only through ears and eyes. So it's getting better results, but also the kids being able to build up knowledge and create what we need, the new knowledge.
So have you seen much success with it?
Yeah, it is, and we have researchers looking at it, and we have a high school program as well, where they go to circus, but a circus program, but they take all the other subjects, and those students, they are best on all the other subjects as well in the school that they also belong to, because they can work with a passion and they can know how to build knowledge themselves. So we are getting results, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Kajsa.
Tack. Så, ja.